Welcome to Limited Bash Customs, and today I have my Holden Commodore in the workshop. We're going to be checking out what's going on with the air conditioning system as it's no longer blowing cold air. As it is starting to warm up and get into the summer months here in Australia, you don't want to be without an air conditioning system, so let's fix that before it happens. So I'll pop them on it and do some diagnostics to start with. So we've got our gauges just sitting up on the bonnet there. So our first step is hooking it all into the service ports of the air conditioning system. So gauges are looked up, and this is what we're having a look at when we first do that. It's our pressures of the air conditioning system. So we have our high side pressure and our low side pressure. And looking at this, our high side pressure is on 0, so there is absolutely no gas in this system, which isn't necessarily a very good sign. So it means, well, we've got no gas left in the system, so there's likely a leak somewhere. So the next step is going to be determining where that leak is. So a lot of air conditioning systems are fitted with a dye. So when you have a leak in the system, it makes it a lot easier to determine where it is. We use a UV light and a set of yellow lenses, and basically we shine the light around, and if there's any sign of a dye, it'll glow nice and bright. And we can look at fixing that problem. So that's where we're going to start. I don't know if this system has a dye in it or not, but let's take a look. Okay, not able to see any dye anywhere there. All I did was basically wave the light over all the different AC components and pipes. So, doesn't mean that there wasn't a leak in one of those points, it just means that there wasn't some dye in there, whether it's been washed off or just was never in there to begin with. So move on to stage 2 of finding the leak. So I smeared a bit of dye on the table in front of me just so I can show you guys what it is that we were looking for. So I'll turn the UV light on, and you can see there it is glowing. Then when we add the yellow lenses to it, you see it just stands out that bit more and makes it a little bit easier to find, especially when you're looking for only a tiny little bit of it. Unfortunately, we didn't have any success there using our light and looking for the dye, so we're on to stage 2 of testing, which means we're going to pressurize the system using nitrogen gas. What I'm doing here is filling the air conditioning system with the nitrogen. I then have a bottle of soapy water, which will go and spray all over the system and look for some bubbles. As you can see there are bubbles starting to form. So we have a leak right there. Should be an easy fix, just a matter of replacing an O-ring. So yeah, let's do that. One thing I didn't do there that I should have was actually clean off all the soap and crap around the joint before I undid it, so none of it ended up in the system. So keep that in mind if you are doing a system. We've replaced the O-ring, and we're just going to put it back on. So while we're in there replacing O-rings and stuff, we're also going to do the receiver dryer, which is kind of like a filter, I guess, for your air conditioning system. And it's always a good idea to replace it, especially if your system's been out of gas for a while. So that's what we're going to do now. So the receiver dryer can be located kind of anywhere in the car, just somewhere in the air conditioning system. In the Commodores, they're behind the grill, so let's get that out of the way so we can get some better access, and that's it down in here. So the O-ring's been replaced, the receiver dryer's been replaced. I did try and film it, although it was hard enough shoving my hands in there with tools as well, without having a camera also in there. But that's been done, so our next stage is we're going to pull the air conditioning system down into a vacuum using our vac pump. So I'll do that for 30 minutes, we'll then switch it all off, wait a little bit and see if it holds a vacuum. If it does, means we haven't got any more leaks. If it doesn't, we've got to keep looking, but I'm fairly confident we've got all that sorted. So let's switch this on. As you can see there, it is pulling down into a vacuum. That whole green section is the vacuum itself. The idea is to get it right down the end of the scale. So just going to add some dye into the air conditioning system so that if we have any future problems, we'll be able to find it with that light, saving us a bit of extra time. So we do that, we've got this applicator here. Just tap it in. Screw it back up. In our low pressure side, we take off the hose, and this has got a clip on there that goes straight on. Twist it in, injecting all the dye into the system. Off again. There you go, so then when we gas the system, it will push that dye around, and in the instance that we do end up getting a leak, well, it will push the dye out to that, creating a nice little dye spot, so when we shine the light over it, it should look kind of like it did on the table. Okay, so we've backed it out, we've left it, we're still good on vacuum, so now it's time to make it an air conditioner by pumping some gas in. Let's zero out our scales to start with. So this is R134A gas that we're using. Okay, should be all good. Switching the bottle on. Opening up that high side to start pumping in some liquid. So VY Commodore of this particular one is 800 grams worth of gas. Okay, so we're going to lock that off there. Then going to go start the car, turn the air conditioning on. So we've got the car running. I then like to take a thermometer and I shove it in the air vents. And that way we can monitor how much cold air is actually coming out. So now that that's all happening, it's on, it's running, we're going to open up the low pressure side. And in this case, knowing that how much gas it's got to take, we're just going to watch the scales and switch it off once it gets to its desired number, so 800. Same time, we keep an eye on the gauges, make sure it doesn't shoot up or anything like that, indicating we've got blockages or other problems with our air conditioning system. So we're at 400 grams now. All right, we're getting close. 750. Start knocking the taps back a bit. And that's 800 grams right there. Switch it all off, turn the bottle off. Now at this point, we're going to just let it run for a minute, wait to make sure it actually cools down inside and that all our pressures and everything are sitting closely. Okay, So here's a closer look at the gauges of what we're kind of looking at. Mostly we go off temperatures. So over here on the low pressure side, we're sitting on pretty much 0 degrees, which on this blue scale, which is our R134A. And that's pretty good considering. Anything below that, yeah, it's the temperature that's going through the low side of the system. And over on the high side here, we're sitting just under 40 degrees, which would be about right. Generally, we're looking for double the ambient temperature, which for today is around that 20 degrees. So this is the temperature coming out of the air vents at the moment. So 1.6 degrees, that's bloody cold. Should keep me nice and cool during the summer. As long as I'm driving this thing and not the Patrol, because it doesn't have air conditioning and also won't be getting any air conditioning, so that'll be fun. Yep, 1.6 degrees, happy with that. Let's go finish it off. So our pressures are good here, it's nice and cold coming out of the vent. So what we're going to do now is disconnect this high side hose so that we can purge all the lines. And do that by, opening them both up, making sure the gas is off and the high side is disconnected, or in this case the tap's just off. And wait for the gauges to come down. Shut off. That's job done. So there you have it, that's how a regas is done on your air conditioning system. And it's bloody good to have a nice cool aircon again, especially as it's already getting quite warm and we're not even into summer yet. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.